Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. What do you call this world?
We were just calling it multiplayer VR.
You're not calling it Limbo? So Project Tango, if you don't remember, is this crazy Google project where they stick sensors and cameras on a tablet and it's able to map space in real time and know where it is inside that space. We first saw it about a year ago at the last I.O., and since then, Johnny Lee and his team have been up to some pretty wild stuff.
So we have a pre-existing floor map of this room where we know where all the conference rooms are, and what we can do is say, hey, we've just entered our building and our lobby, and we want to get to the ping pong room.
And so just follow the arrows.
Indoor navigation is actually a really challenging problem still. GPS doesn't work. People try to do Bluetooth beacons. Wi-Fi mapping only goes so far. Magnetic mapping only goes so far. And there's a large number of use cases that would be enabled if you just had perfect indoor positioning. To some degree, I think there's a bit of anthropomorphism in that this is what people do.
Right.
I could take you to a brand new building and you could start to learn your way around. And I think once we can give our devices that same ability, there will become more parity to human perception.
Lo and behold, we're at the Market Kitchen.
We're very interested in building that core tech and partnering with companies such as Aisle 411, which is a company that does planogram data for companies like Walgreens.
Right.
And they can do navigation directly to a product in the store if they knew where the customer was. And we could essentially build the core tech for enabling those type of experiences.
Without having to load up the Walgreens with like a million sensors to tell, to communicate with the phone, it just knows.
Yeah. So this is just our I.O. prep room, or we're just using it to practice.
Okay.
So let me show you just a couple of apps. What Project Tango does is try to revisit what these devices could do if you add additional hardware and software to them. Basically, start exploring this idea, well, what does a 3D mouse look like if you were to take that device and be able to use your whole world as your interface?
Right.
So just like you turn left and right, we can walk around and I can just sort of move around the room and it continues to track its position. And in the bottom line, you can see it's also tracking Z.
Oh.
Like so it's full 3D tracking. So it's a new class of apps that very much start to drift in the direction of VR and AR, but it's in a form factor that's currently in tablets. This is kind of an homage to the games that you can, virtual building and build up the walls and make a door frame. Like that. Yeah, so you can walk around it. And if you actually squat down, you can go inside the house. So we could have built a slightly bigger house.
That's all right.
That one's just kind of quick and dirty. But you could imagine like you can put castles in one part of your living room and go to your bedroom and build another part of your virtual world. So let's walk over here, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a car in the room.
Okay.
It's actually challenging with Tango. One of the things that we do have trouble with is sometimes estimating the absolute size of things, because it doesn't know about what a normal car looks like, what a normal door looks like. We're just making pure numerical observations about the scene, and size is arbitrary.
So it just saw the room and was like, well, a car will fit in there, and it put a car in?
It'll try to put the car in the room regardless of how big it is at the moment. So this is just using pure open loop tracking.
And then you can change the color of the seats and the dash, trim.
If you look at the modern mobile phone today, it's for the most part stabilized. Like the feature set that's in it, basically there's incremental changes now in that particular form factor. And what Project Tango does is try to revisit what these devices could do if you add additional hardware and software to them. And where we are and what is around us has a pretty fundamental impact over how we live our daily lives. We roughly understand how big this room is and our own physical relationship with each other. And if these devices understood how to do that, you could then make apps that could do things like could measure the size of your couch and measure the size of your room. You could play games that actually use the shape of your house as part of the game level. I've just put that box in front of us, and it's using the depth sensor to actually capture the shape of the box.
Right.
And I can just tap the screen to throw balls and try to play basketball. As I just move the tablet around, it starts to build a 3D mesh of the whole room, and we can actually bounce balls off of his head. One of the interesting things about this is that you start thinking about games that you design procedurally, because you don't know actually the user's living room size.
Yeah!
So you have to figure out a game mechanic that actually can dynamically adjust to any room size or furniture shape. We started stacking pillows and like draping up blankets, because you can actually start to build forts that actually work in the game world.
Oh,
right?
so, okay, yeah.
So it's sort of this belief that, just like GPS, everyone was fine before GPS came out, but nowadays you wouldn't consider buying a phone without GPS. And we hope to see Tango kind of reach the same level of adoption, which is, we're fine today, but once you have the tech, it enables so many new things, it just becomes ubiquitous.
Right. Are you just shrinking it down and it's a matter of shrinking it down, or are you imagining there's other sensors that need to be invented?
The core sensor suite may evolve in their form. One day they might combine as the technology evolves, but that basic sensor suite is everything you would need to do ubiquitous 6-degree freedom tracking. Right. We are continuing to invest in shrinking the technology and making it actually primarily power efficient until you can ultimately get into something like this. Right. And so these are all steps toward a future that
enables... Are
enables...
those Tango glasses? Right
not quite yet.
Okay.
maybe one day. So a standard Android phone uses the gyro and accelerometer to do rotation, so you can pivot your head. But this one allows you to actually walk through the space.
Oh, so so the bubbles are like where they're supposed to be.
So you can walk into the bubbles.
Right. Wow. Wow, they're just right there. And they stay where they're supposed to be.
So what's going on is that his tablet is acting as a hotspot host. Okay. And all we do is we connect to that hotspot and we get connected to his VR space. We can essentially sort of say hi to each other.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh my God.
How are you?
I'm terrified.
Well,
and so are you, if we get close enough.
So remember, you can actually run around the world. And
because they're definitely. So let me just ask the question that is most important right now for VR, which is, we've seen lots of little bite-sized experiences, lots of little like, oh, this is fun to try for 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, now I'm done. And now finally stuff is starting to come out next year in a real way for consumers. Do you believe that we're gonna see stuff that isn't just a fun little game to play for 5 minutes in AR anytime soon? Like everything feels like it's like still like not much past demo.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that right now everyone's just doing dev kits and low volume platforms. But as the volumes start to grow, the economics start to make more sense for real production houses to focus on it. Even like in the early days of movies, you'll have like simple test clips. But then once people feel like there's actually a viable platform to target, you'll see higher production things, is my guess, which I think will be fun.
Like super duper fun.